In categorical logic and Aristotelian scholastic logic, there's something known as a square of opposition, and we can create something a tiny bit similar with conditional propositions, although actually the similarity is pretty minor, but still, please bear with me despite this poor analogy. It's a good springboard. For example, if we have the proposition if P then Q, we can relate it to other propositions of a similar nature. Now before we do that, let's remind ourselves that in this molecular sentence, this conditional, the first atomic sentence that composes a conditional is called the antecedent, and the second atomic sentence that composes it is the consequent. And we can relate it to, for example, if Q then P. Now these two different propositions are converses of each other. All we have done is flip the antecedent and the consequent. That's it. Now a good question to raise is, are they logically equivalent? Well, no, they're definitely different. For example, in this proposition, Q is necessary for P. On the other hand, in this proposition, it's P that's necessary for Q. So they say something quite different. The next question to ask, are they logically contradictory vis-a-vis each other? Does one necessarily deny the other? Well, no, they can be both true simultaneously. In fact, if they are true simultaneously, we have a biconditional. P, if and only if Q, is logically equivalent to if P then Q, and if Q then P. So here we have if P then Q is true, and simultaneously we have if Q then P as true. Now another relation deals with inverses, so we can have two propositions that are inverses. And here we're just going to contradict the antecedent and the consequent respectively. So we're going to move from if Q then P to if not Q then not P. Once again, we can ask the question, are they logically equivalent? No, they're certainly not. Are they contradictory vis-a-vis each other? No, they can be true simultaneously. But there's another interesting relation here, and this is much more important, and that's between if P then Q and if not Q then not P, because these are contrapositives. And in fact, they are logically equivalent with each other. And this deals with contraposition, which is one of the main logical equivalencies in propositional logic. And we'll see why they're equivalent in a minute. We can do another conversion. So we have converses. So we move from if not Q, then not P, to if not P, then not Q. Once again, we have contrapositives here. If Q, then P, and if not P, then not Q. Those are logically equivalent. And finally, we have an inversion, because these two propositions are inverses of one another. So why are contrapositives logically equivalent? Why does contraposition work as a logical equivalence? So let's think about that. So contraposition or C-O-N-T-R-A, contra for short. So here we have if P then Q, and this is logically equivalent to if not Q, then not P. We could do a truth table, but I prefer not to do truth tables. I'm not a big fan of them. There's another way to think about this, and that's through modus tollens. So let's say we have the following argument. We have the premise if P then Q. So notice, here's if P then Q. But now we have the second premise that Q is not the case, and then from those two premises we can reach the conclusion that P is not the case. So this is just modus tollens. But notice that if it is the case that Q is not the case, then we know P will not be the case. So this is exactly why this proposition and this proposition are logically equivalent. At least that's one way to look at it. It's encoding, so to speak, modus tollens. It has to be equivalent. Perhaps even better is an example. So let's say we have the following example. If it's the weekend, then it's a free day. So the question is, what is this logically equivalent to if we engage in contraposition? it would be this. If it's not a free day, then it's not the weekend. And we can see that these are logically equivalent. That this first sentence, this first proposition, is logically equivalent to the second proposition, and vice versa. So if this is true, then this will be true. And again, the same is true vice versa. Moreover, it's a helpful check. So let's say you're given a complicated proposition of this form. If such and such, then such and such. Do contraposition, and maybe you'll understand the meaning of the conditional better. And remember, this right here, this second sentence, does make sense because modus tollens reminds us that the consequent Q is always necessary for the antecedent P. So if Q is not the case, there's no way P can be the case. So contraposition is a good logical equivalency. But anyways, what else do we have? These do not show up in this little chart or diagram, so to speak, I made, but they're good equivalencies. For example, we have implication. And implication is very useful because we can shift back and forth between disjunctions and conditionals. So let's look at that next. So an implication, IMPL for short. So here we have if P then Q, and this is logically equivalent to some disjunction. What disjunction do you think it would be? It would be the following: not P or Q. And this also makes sense because in a way, so to speak, it encodes the two valid forms of a mixed hypothetical syllogism, namely modus ponens and modus tollens. So on the one hand, we have modus ponens. So first premise, if P then Q. Second premise, P is the case, and then from those two premises, we're able to arrive at the conclusion that Q is the case. Versus modus tollens. First premise, if P then Q. Second premise, not Q. And then from that, we can get not P. So because those are the only two valid mixed hypothetical syllogisms, otherwise you would get the fallacy of denying the antecedent or the fallacy of affirming the consequent. So you're either going to get validly this Q or this not P. So here it encodes that fact, so to speak. So we can see why this and this are logically equivalent. We can think about this in terms of modus ponens and modus tollens. And we should recall that those are the only two valid forms of a mixed hypothetical syllogism. Let's think about an example. If you pass a test, then you studied hard. So what would that be logically equivalent to by implication? We would get the disjunction: you either studied hard or you won't pass the test. So you can see how this encodes the modus ponens versus the modus tollens. So an implication is a very good logical equivalency. And then finally, we're going to look at one more, and that is exportation. So let's look at that next. So we have exportation. So EXPO for short. So we have the following: P and Q implies R. So what would this be logically equivalent to? Turns out it will be logically equivalent to this. P implies parentheses Q implies R. So notice that P and Q, those together, those are sufficient for R being the case. Okay, so we have this conjunction P and Q. And notice on the right-hand side, we're saying if Q, then R, in fact, is necessary for P. There's kind of a chain reaction here. Because since this left-hand side is saying we need P and Q, then we get R, it then follows that if you have P, then if you have Q, then you will have R. So you kind of have to just think about it until it clicks. You can also do a truth table, but again, I don't want to do that. But let's look at an example because maybe that will help the most. So here we have, if today is Monday and it's noon, then I'm at work. So the question is, what would this be logically equivalent to? If today is Monday, then if it's noon, then I'm at work. We can see that this is equivalent. So if today is Monday, check. Then if it's noon, let's say it is, check. Then I'm at work. So this first thing is definitely equivalent to the second thing. So pretty neat. We have exportation, we have implication, and we have contraposition. And those are three very important logical equivalencies, and they are useful in propositional logic when dealing with complicated proofs. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.